Hello, ladies. I am pulling up my notes. It's Coach Steph back again. I feel like I just did a live. This week went by super duper fast. And I feel like I just did my live. So I'm doing lives every Tuesday. My name is Stephanie. I am a registered dietitian. I'm a personal trainer. And I am also a online weight loss and mindset coach. So I love to talk about weight loss and the mindset behind our weight loss and like our health behaviors and what really drives that. Our self-sabotage, our emotional eating, the concept of like starting over on Monday, and how we get trapped in like losing the same 15 pounds over and over and over again because we're not really changing things for the long term. We're changing things hey Stephanie, we're changing things in a way that gives us some short-term goals, which, you know, it helps us to feel good temporarily, right? It helps us to feel good temporarily because we're like, okay, I'm seeing these changes, but they're not sustainable. So really my goal with us going live every Tuesday is really to help give you some ways that you can have sustainable weight loss and really focus on more self-awareness, the thoughts that we're thinking, and our approach, because our thoughts really are creating our results, right? Our thoughts and our results are always going to be the same. And so I try to give my clients more insight on how to self-coach themselves, because there's always like a negotiation in your mind about like being consistent or being motivated or going and doing your workout or doing your meal prep when you need to. Like there's an internal like struggle going on. And so if we get the mindset part right, I think in my last live I talked about like the 4 pillars of like where to start, and that was boundaries and systems, mindset, nutrition, and fitness. And if you get the boundaries and systems and you get the mindset on board, the nutrition and fitness is easy, but a lot of times we'll try to fix the nutrition and fitness without actually addressing some of the more foundational concepts. So today what I want to talk about is how to set fitness goals. So I am an online coach, and I've seen this so many times, and I see this a lot in this group too. People setting goals that are totally unrealistic, right? And if you're just hopping on, say hello, and let me know that you're watching. If you do watch the replay, hashtag replay, say hello to me. I just want to see like who's watching. Y'all can ask questions and I will get to them. Do not let me forget to get to the questions that were asked in the events tab, because I had some questions already that I want to make sure I get to, and I tend to forget about checking that, but I got the tab open, so I want to make sure I answer your questions. So I want to make sure that we are setting realistic goals that set us up for success for the long term. Because losing that same 10 to 15 pounds over and over and over again, then gaining it back and over, like that is damaging your self-esteem. It is damaging your metabolism. And who wants to keep doing that over and over again, right? If we want to stop the cycle, we got to do some stuff that's a little bit different, okay? So a lot of times what I see is that people try and change their lifestyle too fast, all at once, right? Because it's like, okay, I have a wedding, or I have this goal of I need to lose 30 pounds in 3 months. How can I get this done, right? And I see this question a lot in this group too, like how can I get this done, right? So what I really want to impress upon you about setting goals is that it is about the journey. Like it's not about the destination so much as it is you are required throughout the journey to acquire certain skill set, to acquire a certain mindset to maintain the goal, right? You can't skip the journey. Like that ain't how it works. A lot of times I know a lot of people who have gotten like weight loss surgery. And so, you know, that's a choice. It's fine. But if you don't address the mindset and the emotional eating and like understand food a little bit better, a lot of times they tend to gain that weight back, right? So the journey is really important. Like, you don't want to skip the journey. A lot of my clients are like, I want to lose weight faster. And it's just like, hey, you know what? The journey of who you are becoming throughout the journey is really important for you to maintain the goal, right? And a lot of times the goal is a scale weight, right? A goal is a scale weight. And that tends to be a lot of people's only measure of success, which is I'm kind of doing like a do's and don'ts today. So that is one of my don'ts, right? So don't have just the scale as your only measure of success, right? Because the scale doesn't tell the whole picture. The scale can fluctuate several pounds within one day. So you have to create a system to find a win within your journey that includes more than the scale. That could be tracking your energy level. It could be tracking measurements, photos, your stamina with your workouts, right? Are you tracking those things? So literally, like when you decide, hey, I'm going to start this journey, right? Rating yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 and saying, hey, right now my energy level is a 4 because I'm not eating very well, right? Then, and you can just say energy, let's say energy, confidence, and stamina for your workouts, right? And let's say those are 2, 3, and 4, right? Those are what you rate yourself at the beginning of the journey. Then maybe in 4 weeks, you come back and reevaluate, how am I feeling? How's my energy? How's my stamina? How's my confidence? And rate yourself after 4 weeks. Then do that same thing, rate yourself after 8 weeks, right? Then after 12 weeks, so that you can see a progression. You can do the same thing with progress photos. It's so important to take progress photos. So important. I have a client right now who is refusing, like I'm trying to get her, and I know her personally. I'm like, you have to take the photos, even if you don't show me, right? Because people are embarrassed for them to see themselves and like take a picture and like look at their picture. But it is so important because along the journey, it doesn't feel like anything's happening, right? It's like, oh, the scale ain't budging, so I must not be losing weight. I must not be making any progress. But if you give yourself multiple ways to find progress, you will be more motivated. So don't let the scale be your only measure of progress. Okay, so that's one of my don'ts in setting fitness goals. Don't let the scale be your only measure of progress. So I see some more people popping on. LaShawn, hello. DC, hello. Let's see, Deborah, Maya, Lena. Thank you guys for watching today. So we're continuing to talk about how to set fitness goals. And I'm just talking about why you need to include more than just the scale, right? In order to be able to see progress, to stay motivated. Progress is one of the big things that motivates people, right? So figure out whether that's progress photos, whether it's measurements, whether it's a scale rating of your energy or stamina. Do that every 4 weeks along your journey so that you can stay motivated, right? And I also want to encourage you when we're talking about scale weight, because that's a fine measure, you know, people are going to use that. Don't weigh yourself every day. Don't weigh yourself even weekly. Like, I wouldn't even do that because some people get so attached to like what the scale says and it like messes up their whole day. And it doesn't tell the whole story. So you could weigh yourself in the morning and be one weight, weigh yourself in the evening and be a totally different weight. And you just want to be consistent. Like if you're, I always recommend if you're going to use a scale weight as your measure, you want to do it in the morning, right after you use the bathroom, get on the scale. No more than once a week, but I really would prefer once every 4 weeks. Okay. So don't let the ups and downs of the journey and the ups and downs of life, Because sometimes I think we don't account for the fact that we say, hey, I want to lose these 30 pounds in 3 months, right? And so depending on your fitness level and how much weight you have to lose, that's not impossible, right? But you'd have to be pretty much either doing something very restrictive, which is not going to be sustainable, or you're doing something, or you're not accounting for the fact that every week isn't going to be perfect. Like every week, you're not going to be on it. Something's going to happen with your kids. Your boss is going to be on your nerves, or you're stressed out at work. Your husband's going to be on your nerves or something. And life is going to happen. So there may be a week where you're stressed, you're busy, and you don't account for the times when life is still happening, and you get past those 3 months and you haven't reached your goal and you feel like you failed. It's not that you failed. It's more so that you needed more time, right? Because I think one thing that we kind of forget, and something that I remind my clients, whenever you decide you want to go on this journey, you can either do it quickly, right? Even in a sustainable way, right? If you're very strict with, not having a lot of like extra snacks and not eating a lot of out and stuff like that, like cooking your meals, like staying to your meal plan, right? And you can do that, but it's going to be less enjoyable, right? So you can get to your goal weight faster and not enjoy the journey as much. Or you can plan in a treat meal once, not a treat day, a treat meal once a week, right? Plan in that treat meal so where you're enjoying yourself a little bit, but you're not like going too far off course and delay your goal a little bit, right? It's not going to happen super duper fast, but you enjoy the journey. It's still sustainable. And once you get to the goal weight, it's not like, okay, now I can do whatever I want. No, you can still maintain that meal plan, and you can still, plan in that treat because you've enjoyed yourself, but you're also having some moderation in there, right? So I'm just looking at my notes. Okay. So you want to account for the ups and downs of the journey, right? Life is going to happen, and you're going to some days, some weeks, slip back into your old habits. So when you're making your fitness goals, remember that the journey is not going to be perfect. So don't leave yourself no room to have an off week, right? And so if you have an off week, you might not lose weight that week, right? And that's okay. And I know a lot of people feel like the healthy weight loss, 1 to 2 pounds a week, feel like that's maybe a little bit too slow, but I want to remind you that it doesn't mean that you'll lose 1 or 2 pounds every week. I know that's what it sounds like, right? It sounds like that. What that means is over the course of, let's say, 6 months, right? You take the amount of weight that you have lost and you divide it by the number of weeks that are in 6 months. And that's an average of what you would have lost throughout the journey. But it doesn't necessarily mean that every time you step on the scale each week, it's going to be down 1 or 2 pounds, right? So that's an expectation management that we have to kind of look at and say, okay, I'm not going to get discouraged because the scale says a certain thing. Why? Because number one, I know it doesn't tell the whole story. Number two, I have other measurements like my progress photos and my measurements and my rating scale to validate that I'm on the right track and I'm doing the right thing. And I'm not going to get caught up in what the scale says every time, right? So another don't, right, when we're setting fitness goals is becoming too attached to the outcome, right? So you're too tit for tat, I ate a salad and then I'm going to go get on the scale, where's my 1 pound less than I was earlier, right? Or I lifted weights today, so I should be, stronger. Or let's say I I worked out today, so the scale owes me like a little bit less weight, right? So we kind of think about it's like we're white knuckling the results, and that energy is never good because it can actually cause you to have a negative relationship with food, and it can also damage your self-esteem, but it also makes you really dislike the journey. You know, when you are like, hey, I need to lose a certain amount of weight, and you know, I ate a salad, I've been eating a salad every day for 2 weeks, and where's my weight loss? That's not how it works. Number one. And number two, you want to enjoy the journey. So just detach from the outcome. And let me tell you how you do this, okay? Because it's kind of hard. I know, like, we have a goal and like, hey, I want to see some results. Here's how you do it. You focus on the habits that's going to get you to the goal versus always trying to hurry up and get to this goal, right? So the difference between habits, right, and setting a goal is that your habits are focused on easy things that you can do daily. So like drinking enough water, eating enough vegetables, right? So I might count those as 2 wins. And if I check those 2 boxes off, I am satisfied. I have a win for the day. And I may not see weight loss in that day, but I know that if I get a string of those consistently, then it's going to lead me to my goal, right? And so a lot of times if we're too goal focused, we'll say, okay, I need this goal, right? And even if we get there, it's like, okay, we got to the goal, now what? Now we still have to focus on healthy habits, right? So we should just focus on the healthy habits anyway. Start there so that we still feel accomplished, right? If you're focusing on your habits every day and understanding that your habits are going to get you to your goal, it's more enjoyable. And you are not stressed out about the fact that today I'm not at my goal, okay? So white knuckling your results really creates this sense of entitlement. Like, I did this, so I need to see this. My body owes me X, Y, and Z, right? And so we really want to avoid that, okay? Another mistake that people make whenever they're setting goals is they compare this sustainable journey to a journey that was unsustainable. So I have clients, like by the time someone gets to me, like they've probably tried every diet and, you know, maybe they have lost weight on, you know, a quick weight loss. Like, let me know in the comments, like, have you tried a diet that you lost weight really quickly and then you gained it back? Let me know if this is you, okay? So what happens is someone has tried these diets, right? They try these diets and they're like, okay, I saw quick weight loss. I saw quick weight loss. And then they get to me and they're like, okay, I gained all that weight back. Like, I want to do it the right way. I want to do it in a sustainable way. But then they compare the journey of doing it in a sustainable way to the journey that they had when they were doing it in an unsustainable way, right? And so how does that make you feel? Whenever you compare a sustainable weight loss journey to an unsustainable weight loss journey, you feel very discontent because you're like, this ain't going fast enough. Like, I tried XYZ diet and I lost XYZ pounds in like 1 week, and why is this taking me so long? Right? And you're not like satisfied. You feel like you're doing something wrong, right? So you want to avoid that mental comparison of comparing the sustainable weight loss journey to an unsustainable one, because it's not the same. And I mentioned earlier, when we're on a sustainable journey, we are setting ourselves up for long-term success, right? And the journey is needed. You need the journey. The journey is required. You cannot skip the journey because the journey helps you become who you need to be in order to maintain your goal. The skills that you need are in the journey. The journey is super important. Okay. So another thing that I think people skip out on when they're making fitness goals is not making time for a reset every week. Highly, highly recommend every week you should be sitting down with yourself, reviewing your goals, reviewing your emotional why, right? Not the superficial why about being in a two-piece on the beach. Your real reason, like your painful, emotional, the reason that might make you cry, revisiting that and knowing that it's worth it. Like the journey is worth it. The sustainable journey is worth it. Every week, sitting down to review your goals, to go back and think about, okay, what worked last week and what didn't, and then planning out for the week ahead. That's like non-negotiable in my book. Because if you don't make time to reset, you'll get caught up in the days and they'll just keep on going by, and you know, Monday will come and you have lots of work, the kids have stuff, right? And you get swept up, and before you know it, you haven't done anything to serve your goals or to take care of your body. So you want to make sure that you have a day to reset. Okay? You need, Saturday, 2 o'clock. This is my day. I'm going to reset. I'm going to look at my past week. I'm going to plan for my next week. I'm going to plan my foods. What days am I working out? That kind of thing. Okay? Though that time each week is crucial. Okay? So, I kind of talked about the emotional why a little bit, but making sure that you understand that the core of your why is super important. I think I mentioned this the last time, of just like, there was a client who, she said her why was that she wanted to like be in a two-piece, right? But I kept asking like, why? Well, why do you want that? Why do you want that? Why do you want that? And the real reason is because her and her husband had, intimacy issues because she felt uncomfortable about her own weight. And so that was the real reason. It wasn't because of the two-piece on the beach. So you need to be anchored in your why and rooted in that, and understand what you are working towards, because it's worth it, right? You're worth it. Okay. So I'm going to go over some do's, right, of your of setting fitness goals. So you want to set realistic expectations, right? So if it didn't take you 3 months to gain the weight that you've gained, right? It took you maybe a year. Over the past year, you've been gaining weight. Then it's probably not going to take you just 3 months to get rid of that weight, right? I see a lot of people like, oh, I've been overweight for, 5 years, and it just like each year just compiles. Well, you're probably not going to lose all the weight you want to lose in 3 months, right? That's kind of unrealistic, right? It didn't happen in 3 months, so it's probably not going to reverse in 3 months. But that's okay. Why? Because the journey is required, right? I talked about this earlier, focusing on habit-based changes, right? So habits are the small changes that you make that are easy for you to do. When you start making goals and you want to change your habits, you need to ask yourself, how can I make this as simple as possible? How can I make this really simple for me to do, right? And then the trick is doing them consistently. So on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being really hard and 1 being super duper easy, the new habit that you want to implement should be like from a 1 to 3. Like it should be easy for you to do. Then the key is to string that along daily, right? And to do them consistently. Okay. So we build on the habits over time. So maybe you pick a habit, it's super easy for you to do, and then you do that consistently for a week or two, then you stack on another one and you do 2 of those habits, right? So that is better to focus on your daily habits, because that's what's really going to get you to the goal. Okay. And so when we have a goal, we want to have a big goal in mind, but we don't always daily need to focus on like the big goal. We need to focus on the things that are going to get us there, because a goal has a start and an end, right? A goal also really relies heavily on like self-discipline and You can't fully control the outcome, right? So if you say, I have a goal of losing 30 pounds in 3 months, and you're focused on that, right? You may be so focused on, I want to lose 30 pounds in 30 days or in 3 months, you can't necessarily control exactly how much weight you're going to be losing, right? And so if we focus on the habits that get you to the goal versus the goal itself, it actually is a lot more productive. Okay, so things like portion sizes, things like eating protein at each meal, things like drinking water versus drinking your calories. Okay, that's a big one. It's super easy to drink calories, right? We don't want to do that because the fluid isn't going to fill us up. You want to save your calories for the food. Moving outside of your workouts, right? I think that's a big one too. We're like, okay, I'm going to work out 4 times a week. But a lot of us now, because we're working at home, we're sitting down and we're just like, we might work out, but the rest of the 23 hours, we're just sitting around, right? So being more active outside of our workouts, and then eating veggies and eating fast food less. So I think I want to say it's common. I feel like maybe because I'm in the industry, but being able to set a goal of 1 to 2 pounds per week, again, it's not necessarily meaning that every week you're going to lose 1 to 2 pounds, right? But it's an average over a span of time. But that is a reasonable expectation, okay? Depending on where you are, depending on how consistent you are. So you could say, hey, you know what? I really want to enjoy my journey. So I don't care how long it takes me, but I want to be able to, live a little and delay my goal, right? So you could do that. But if the more consistent you are to your plan, the better or the faster your result will be, but you may not enjoy the journey as much, okay? So if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'm going to toggle over to my questions that got asked in my Facebook group. Let's see. So, nutrition. Regarding healthy snacking, benefits of meal prepping, eat this versus that. Okay. So, nutrition and healthy snacking. I'm trying to think if I have an event in the events tab about that. If I've already done a live about that. But, here's what I say about nutrition. I think I have a nutrition 101 coming up, okay? When you are first starting out, I have a formula, okay? Breakfast formula is protein and fiber, okay? I don't care where the fiber comes from. It can come from a fruit. It can come from a vegetable. It can even come from nuts. I don't care, right? Protein and some sort of fiber, and then water. Simple, right? Lunch formula is protein, some sort of fiber-filled carbs, right? Sweet potatoes, quinoa, brown rice, something. And some sort of vegetable. Any vegetable, any non-starchy vegetable, okay? That's your lunch formula, okay? Then your dinner formula, and y'all let me know if this is making sense. And then your dinner formula would be some sort of protein. And protein is always like the size of your palm and the same thickness and the size of your palm. Protein and veggies, right? So you can have like 2 fists full of veggies at dinner. Really, you can have as many non-starchy veggies as you want. This is kind of how what I tell my clients. Because people don't eat as many as they should, right? So that's your breakfast formula. That's your lunch formula. That's your dinner formula. And then snacks can be fruit and a protein and water. And to start out, that is simple, right? It's simple enough for you to like plan out, and it will get you some results. You want to have protein at every meal, okay? So I hope that kind of answers your question. Yeah, so let me go to the next one. Oh, okay. Stephanie Wallace. Okay. So I'm a diabetic. So is keto diet good for weight loss? So I'm going to tell you, really, I'm not like a huge fan of the keto diet, but counting your carbs, if you don't know how to count carbs, if you're still watching, Stephanie, let me know if you know how to count carbs. I have a live that I did in this group. I don't think it's on the events tab, but if you search the group for diabetic or diabetes, there's a 2-part series. Like I did a 2-part series, okay, which was like an hour each, and I go through because I worked clinical dietetics for a long time. I go through, you know, what diabetes is, like understanding the labs, breaking down like what carbohydrates actually are. I talk about, you know, meal planning and prepping and counting your carbohydrates and how to do that. Okay, so you don't need keto diet for diabetes. I want to say this as well. I know that with diabetics, you need some carbs, right? It can be especially dangerous if you're on diabetic medication, which lowers your blood sugars, right? And then you're also not eating carbohydrates. Low blood sugar is just as dangerous as too high blood sugar, okay? So with somebody with diabetes, you want to eat some carbs, but then you also you want to count your carbohydrate servings. And so in that live, I go over that. So if you want to check that out, I would definitely check that out because it's very thorough. But another thing about the keto diet is it's kind of high in fat, right? And so if you're somebody with diabetes, you have just as much chance of having like heart problems, a heart attack, as somebody who's already had a heart attack or stroke or some kind of occlusion in their vessels. Like you have the same risk. So you don't want to be eating a whole bunch of fat, right? That's not what like someone with diabetes really needs. So a diabetic diet actually is just a healthy diet. Like legit, it's portion controlled. It has a balance of all of your macronutrients, right? And there's nothing like special about the diet. It's actually just a healthy diet, right? So have you, oh, you must have been on it already. And it's okay, you know, just make sure you're, you know, testing your blood lipids when you go to the doctor and stuff like that, your cholesterol. But a lot of people, let me tell you this about keto. A lot of people kind of think they're doing keto, but unless you're actually testing your blood to see if you're in a ketogenic state, a lot of people are just doing low carb, because as soon as you eat something that it has over the amount of carbs, now you're out of a ketogenic state, right? So a lot of people really can't even maintain that ketogenic state because they'll slip up and eat something even if it's every once in a while. So yeah, check with your doctor about that for sure. Okay. Let me scroll through and look for some more questions. So I got a couple of questions about belly fat. So this is always a big one. Here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Okay, that's all I know. I just tell you the truth. So one of the reasons why it's very important that you stay active, you stay fit. I'm a huge fan of women lifting weights and like putting some weight on the bar. Like if you got to start out with 3 pounds and 5 pounds, cool. But I need you to progress and get up to 15s, 20s, 25s with dumbbells, right? And then progress to like barbells and like really lifting some heavy weight. Lots of benefits. I'm not going to go over that right now. But if you stay fit, right, and then you have a child, it's much easier for your body to recover, right, when you're talking about belly fat, because you've already built the muscle there. Yes, I know that, you know, when you get a C-section, you're cut, but if you've healed properly, typically you're able to go back to doing, after like a period of healing, doing what you did before, right? But say that you weren't active, say that maybe, you weren't like in the greatest shape before you started, and then you have a child, and then now you're worried about belly fat. It's not that it's impossible, but you really do have to eat clean, right? So my formula really for getting a flatter tummy: weightlifting, high intensity exercises, right? And then eating really clean. Now that sounds simple, right? But it's not easy. So you have to ask yourself, are you willing to do the things that it requires? Are you willing to be consistent? Are you willing to work out when you don't really feel like working out? Right? Are you willing to continue to meal prep even when life gets crazy? Are you willing to do that reset I was talking about earlier and prioritize meal planning and eating lots of leafy greens and eating in a calorie deficit? And sometimes, when we've had a child, it might not even all be like fat. There's a lot of times where it's really skin. And that's not something that exercise can really fix. Because I've seen like the transformations of people who have lost their belly, but they still have skin there. And so a lot of times, cosmetic procedures are needed for some of that. But you have to decide how consistent you want to be, and then if it's worth it to you to I guess do the things that are required. Let's see. Any other questions, you guys, as I'm going through this and as I'm wrapping up? Let me know if this is making sense. Let me know if there's any missing pieces, or if you wanted to ask a question or anything else that I'm missing. I think this is most of the questions that were in the Facebook group. I do have lots of other talks live like this in the events tab. So when you go to the events tab on the page, you'll see my past events, and then you'll see some upcoming events. Okay. Campbell, you just answered. Okay. So what workouts help with loose skin? Yes, I answered that. I have 3 kids, 3 C-sections, and they're really big. 130 pounds. And yeah, people will say, like, there'll be people that tell you that you can get rid of the skin, or that they have a cream or something that might work, but I haven't seen it. I'm just going to say that because I don't know everything. So if you don't feel like eating breakfast, what's the best smoothie? So here's the thing. Ask yourself, are you hungry 2 hours after you wake up? Like any time in between, are you hungry? If you're not hungry within the first 2 hours of you waking up, your metabolism is a little sluggish. Okay? So what we want to do, because our body has been fasting all night, what we want to do, even if you're not hungry, start eating just something a little bit. Okay? Always, always, always have protein. Right? So if you're trying to do smoothies, right? If you are somebody with diabetes now, I love smoothies. Don't get me wrong. I love smoothies. But you really have to be careful of how many fruits you're putting in those smoothies. Right? And the serving size. So a lot of times they give you a big old thing. If you have like a Ninja or something like that, you might want to make one and then like drink half of it and save the other half for the next day or something like that. But you always want to have some sort of protein. So you could put in chia seeds, that adds protein and fat. You could put in avocado. Now, the first time I heard that, I thought it was crazy. Okay. But if you put in like a fourth to a half is kind of a lot. Avocado has a lot of calories, but like maybe a fourth of avocado, that's healthy fat that helps so that a lot of times people putting in like fruit juice and lots of fruit. So you need to be counting those carbohydrates, but you also want to make sure you're putting in like some leafy greens. Spinach is easy because it doesn't change the taste or anything. You can put in some Greek yogurt, but make sure you're having some protein and fat mixed up in there with all those extra carbohydrates. Okay. I'm never hungry, so I drink water. Yeah, I would try to start having something, right? Whether that's like a yogurt, like just a little bit of yogurt, and just start. And I don't know how active you are, Stephanie, but like once you be consistent with being active too, that might help with your appetite in the morning. But getting on a consistent regimen where you're eating like 3 to 4 hours, like every 3 to 4 hours, like a meal or a snack. Once your body kind of gets used to that, then you'll start being hungrier in the morning. But a lot of times if you're used to just skipping meals and not being active, like physically active throughout the day, then your body will be like, okay, I'm not really hungry. Work out 3 times a week. Are you lifting weights, Stephanie? Let me know if you are lifting weights. What's the best foods for PCOS? So I'm not an expert on that. So Miss Antoinette, I thank you for asking that question. I actually just joined there's a Facebook group because I've had clients in a group setting that have had PCOS, and I am not an expert on that. So I can't really speak to that. So I'm the type of person, if I don't know something, I'm going to be like, I don't know. I'm not going to try to tell you nothing that I don't know. So, yeah, I'm not the best person to answer that question. But I do know I've been getting a lot of information from a group and understanding a lot. There's a lot that goes on. I wasn't aware of how like many different symptoms that come along with PCOS. So I'm learning, and I've gained some knowledge, but I'm not comfortable like giving you any advice because I don't want to tell you nothing wrong. So I would definitely seek out an expert in that field. Let's see if I have any other questions. I'm new here. Thanks for the ad. Looking for great ideas to come into 60 looking even more fabulous. Okay, Vanessa. I love it. Angela says, should I be doing cardio every day? Can you walk too much? So, Angela, whenever you say cardio, are you talking about walking? Are you talking about running? Are you talking about tennis, or what kind of cardio are you talking about? A lot of women only will do cardio to lose weight because cardio, it makes you feel like you're doing something, right? It makes your heart race, you're sweaty, and cardio is fine. Like I highly recommend. But if you really want to like level up, cardio and weightlifting. And a lot of y'all are lifting too light. And too, because I just look through the page and I see people lifting really fast. So weightlifting, there's several training modalities. You can be training for power, right? But if you're training for strength, you shouldn't be lifting super fast, like, doing all of this, because time under tension matters. So you want to actually go slow. Like you building muscle, you're supposed to be going slowly, okay? And so a lot of people don't get this either. So I'm going to put this down a little bit. So let's say I'm doing a bicep curl, right? People, I think that the muscle is growing when you're going up, but actually that's not true. So this right here, you coming up, is a concentric contraction. This muscle that you're working, your bicep, is getting shorter, okay? Where you build muscle is when the muscle is lengthening. This is where you build a muscle. That's where you want to go slowly so that muscle is tearing, and then it has to repair itself. So just like a scab, right? So like you get a scab or you get a cut on your knee, and over time, that's why you need rest in between your workouts. It builds a scab, right? There's the skin is thicker, it's tougher. and your skin has repaired itself. Same thing with your muscles, right? If you're tearing up your muscles when you're lifting, and on your rest days and during your sleep, and if you're getting enough calories and protein, it heals, and it heals stronger, and it heals bigger. Okay. I do HIIT on the treadmill. Workout. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of HIIT. I'm a big fan of Peloton treadmill now. And so just, make sure you're lifting some weights. If you have diabetes, go ahead and make sure you're eating before. My dad has diabetes, and he goes and mows the grass all early in the morning without eating, and then he wonders why he's sick. Right? So before you go and do all that stuff, you want to make sure you're eating a mix of protein, carbs, and fat. Always have a mixture of all three of those macronutrients. Okay? How do you feel about water fasting? How I lost all of my weight. So what do you mean by water fasting? Like literally just only drinking water? Is that what you mean? If that's what you mean, I'm gonna tell you, I'm just a truthful person. So let me tell you what happens when you lose weight and you basically that's like a starvation diet, right? It kind of messes up your metabolism. Okay, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad or anything, but it messes up your metabolism, because when you lose fat rapidly, or if you do it to where you're not giving your body enough nutrients, you're also losing muscle. That's huge, because we're already after 30 or something like that, we're already unless you're building muscle, you're losing your lean muscle mass. That's very important for a couple of reasons. Active tissue, our muscles are active tissue, and it keeps our metabolism going, because it takes a lot of energy to maintain muscle. So when we lose muscle in the process of losing weight, right, what happens is our metabolism is naturally slower because we don't have that active tissue. Now we actually need less calories to maintain whatever weight you are now, right? What happens is, because, just drinking water isn't sustainable, and you're starting to just, go back to eating, you actually, once you start kind of gaining that weight back, you're gaining fat and not muscle, right? So percentage wise, if you're gaining fat and you've lost muscle, but you're only gaining fat back, the adipose tissue, or the fat that you have, your percentage wise, you are fatter or have more adipose tissue than when you started. So that, some people are what they call skinny fat, where they're actually slim, but their muscle mass is so small, and their fat mass is actually a lot larger than you would expect for a slim person, right? And so what you want to do is always fuel your body with protein, with carbs and fats. You don't want to be losing muscle mass when you're trying to lose weight. Okay? So that can cause also nutrient deficiencies when you're not feeding your body. And think about it, when I think about weight loss, because I'm a dietitian, I worked in clinical for a long time, I'm not just concerned with your weight, right? I'm concerned with, are you getting enough calcium? As we're getting older, we need calcium, we need vitamin D. Vitamin D, because of our skin, our melanin, it blocks out it blocks out the rays, and it takes us longer. A lot of us are vitamin D deficient, right? And our nutrient deficiencies are important. Why? Because cancers, right? Certain cancers, when you're not feeding your body, you're not getting fiber, you're not getting antioxidants and different chemicals. Those pigments that you see in vegetables and in fruit, those pigments are very important. The reds, the greens, the purples, all of those pigments mean that they have a different nutrient profile. And that's why we need to be eating a variety of foods so we can get all of those nutrients, right? So when you're depriving your body, you're only drinking water. You're not fueling your body, and you're missing out. Like, yeah, you may lose weight, but maybe now you have vitamin D deficiency, or some other kind of ailment, and that just causes more disease, right? So, thank you. Let me get that. I feel like I lost a lot of muscle. Yeah. And the good thing is, though, you can start refeeding and, lifting heavier weights and building that muscle back. Just making sure, like, whenever you want to gain muscle, you want to eat enough calories, you want to eat enough protein. Those are the two things, right? You can't really build muscle if you're not eating enough. And you can't build muscle if you're not getting enough protein, because that's what is going to be helping you to recover. Okay, so I'm going back through the comments real quick. Sometimes I go 5 to 6 days before I take a rest day. How do you work out? Okay, so here's the thing about that. Because if you are an athlete, because I know back in the day, I played college basketball, right? And we work out 6 days a week, right? In terms of weightlifting, you do need to give yourself like time in between. So here's the thing too. You can do splits where you're working out like back and bi one day, and then chest and tris the next day, and then legs, and then core. So you can work out and go to the gym and work out, but as long as you're not hitting the same muscles 6 times, if you're doing shoulders 6 times a week, no. So you can still go to the gym and rotate where you're lifting, like the muscles that you're using. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. So then, like, one day might be a cardio day when you go work out. Then the next day, maybe you're lifting. And then the next day, maybe you do cardio. And then the next day, maybe you do lower body or something like that. You can kind of mix it up. But yeah, just make sure it's something that's sustainable and something that you like. Intermittent fasting is different though, correct? So intermittent fasting. I know that's hot right now. I'm just going to tell you, I am not the biggest fan of like popular diets. And the reason is because it's usually overkill for the average person, right? It's like keto. It's really not necessary for you to lose weight. And if you don't automatically, if that's not like your normal rhythm, you cutting out and only eating a certain time frame, even though you love breakfast, but you're not going to eat breakfast for the rest of your life, like, you should do something that you're going to enjoy and you're going to do for a long term, so that it's not like a stop and start, like, oh, I'm going to start this diet and then I'm going to stop this diet. Eating healthy and living a lifestyle of being healthy is just, this is what I do, right? An athlete works out, right? It's like a student studies, right? If you live in a healthy lifestyle, then this is what you do. This is the person that you are embodying. It's not like something that you're stopping and starting. Now, with intermittent fasting, there are some time frames that I've seen that I was like, okay, that's not too bad, right? So this depends too on like which one of those feeding windows you're doing too. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. I haven't gained anything back and it's been about a year. Well, that's good for you. That's not typical, right? That's not typical. But if you're wanting to gain that muscle back, stay active. Our body is pretty resilient, and I think that if you did lose muscle, you can gain it back, right? Just by being active, lifting, eating, all that good stuff, right? How do you feel about keto diet? I think I talked about that earlier. I'm not a huge fan. I think it's overkill. If you're just trying to lose weight, it's a little bit overkill. Like, you don't have to not have carbs, and you're missing out on a lot of different nutrients that actually fuel your body, protect you from cancer, etc. Right? I'm trying to do the weightlifting thing now. Yes, I'm big fan of the weightlifting. Makes sense. Okay, that's pretty much what I do. Great. 16 to 8 is working well for me. Okay. Yeah, as long as you feel like you can keep that up, like if that's how you want to live your life, right? and you're sure that you're getting in the nutrients, because a lot of people have trouble getting in all the micronutrients and the vitamins and the minerals, eating 3 times a day all day long, right? Because of the quality of their diet. But if you're really, really focused on like eating really nutrient dense foods in that feeding window, and it doesn't like mess up your lifestyle, which, you know, if you're a breakfast eater typically, and you're not going to be starving by whatever time you eat and possibly binge eat, it could work. It could work for you long term. So, yeah, that's okay, Yvette. It's totally fine. So I think I got all the questions. I just want to thank you guys for watching. I will have, let me see what my next live is. Every Tuesday, I've been going live, and I have been answering questions and kind of sharing my expertise. I am a dietitian. I'm a personal trainer. And I'm an online coach, and what I do is talk with women about their self-sabotaging behavior, their cravings, their emotional eating, teach them how to meal plan and actually how to create a meal plan that's right for their body, and how to set goals, which is what this live was about. So if you joined in late, you can go back and listen to the talk about like how to set goals that serve you. My next live is next Tuesday, and it's going over nutrition 101. So this is a big topic. I'm sure that you're going to want to be there. I love when people come and they take notes and then you implement, okay? So what is something that you want to do going forward in terms of your habits? Because we talked about habits versus goals, right? Habits versus like focusing on your goals. So what are some habits that you want to implement? We talked about several: eating more vegetables, being active even outside of your workouts, drinking more water. What are some habits that you can commit to today? That's something super simple, right? These should be simple things that you can do and be consistent with them. I'm a huge fan of habit trackers. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be on your phone. You could take an app. You could just make a chart and just check it off. Every time I eat, let's say if my goal is eating 5 fruits and vegetables every day, when I do that, then I can check it off, and I check it off, and I check it off. That makes me so happy. Maybe it's the Virgo in me, I don't know, but I'm really into lists, and I love like actually tracking the habit. So, so yeah, somebody give me some things that some habits that you want to implement. You're welcome. You're welcome, Stephanie. Thank you, Faith. Thank y'all for watching. Do you work with women who suffer with eating disorders? That is not my specialty. No, I won't lie to y'all. If I don't have an expertise in something, then I won't. That's not something that I specialize in. Mostly. And that's one of the reasons why I say weight loss and mindset coach, because I really deal with self-sabotaging behavior, right? But the eating disorders is a little bit deeper, right? Because it's really not about the food. Because I did used to work at an eating disorders clinic in college, and I do know that the food really is not the thing. It's just the thing that you can control. So there's a lot underneath that. So if you have an eating disorder, or if you know somebody that has an eating disorder and they need help, really get somebody that specializes in dealing with people with eating disorders. I am open for one-on-ones with just people who want support in their weight loss journey and need some one-on-one help, like with sustainable weight loss. So that's what I do. Thank you for asking. Thank you for watching, Antoinette and Heather. Yeah, so if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to let y'all go for today. Thank you so much for watching. I love doing these. I feel like I talked too much though, but it's been an hour, so I'm going to jump off. Thank y'all for watching. RSVP for the Nutrition 101 that's coming up next Tuesday, and I will talk to y'all soon.